Greetings, fellow diverse fairy tale dorks. It is I, Trinity. Welcome to my fort. I have a new tale for you today from a new culture, actually. We are going to China today via ETC Warner in Myths and Legends of China. So this one today, I do want to just say, I'm going to try my best with pronunciations. I'm going to get them wrong. I mean, absolutely no disrespect to anyone. It's going to be mangled. And so I apologize for that. Please bear with me. And so let's see. Today we have the marriage lottery. A certain laborer named Ma Zheng lost his wife when he was only about 20 years of age and was too poor to take another. One day, when out hoeing in the fields, he beheld a nice-looking young lady leave the path and come tripping across the furrows ahead of him. Her face was well painted, and she had altogether such a refined look that Ma concluded she must have lost her way, and began to make some playful remarks in consequence. "You go along home, and I'll be with you by and by," cried the young lady. Ma doubted this rather extraordinary promise, but she vowed and declared she would not break her word, and then Ma went off, telling her that his front door faced to the north, etc. At midnight, the young lady arrived, and then Ma saw that her hands and face were covered with fine hair, which made him suspect at once that she was a fox. She did not deny the accusation, and accordingly Ma said to her, "If you really are one of those wonderful creatures, you will be able to get me anything I want, and I should be much obliged if you would begin by giving me some money to relieve my poverty." The young lady said she would, and next evening, when she came again, Ma asked her where the money was. "Oh, dear me, I quite forgot it," she replied. When she was going away, Ma reminded her of what he wanted, but on the following evening she made precisely the same excuse, promising to bring it another day. A few nights afterward, Ma asked her once more for the money, and then she drew from her sleeves 2 pieces of silver, each weighing about 5 or 6 ounces. They were both of fine quality, with turned-up edges, and Ma was very pleased, and stored them away in a cupboard. Some months after this, he happened to require some money for use, and took out these pieces. But the person to whom he showed them said they were only pewter, and easily bit off a portion of one of them with his teeth. Ma was much alarmed, and put the pieces away directly, taking the opportunity when evening came of abusing the young lady roundly. "It's all your bad luck," retorted she. "Real gold would be too much for your inferior destiny." There was an end of that, but Ma went on to say, "I always heard that fox girls were of surpassing beauty. How is it that you are not?" "Oh," replied the young lady, "we always adapt ourselves to our company. Now you haven't the luck of an ounce of silver to call your own, and what would you do, for instance, with a beautiful princess? My beauty may not be good enough for the aristocracy, but among your big-footed, bent-backed rustics, why, it may safely be called surpassing." A few months passed away, and then one day the young lady came and gave Ma 3 ounces of silver, saying, "You have often asked me for money, but in consequence of your bad luck, I have always refrained from giving you any. Now, however, your marriage is at hand, and I here give you the cost of a wife, which you may also regard as a parting gift from me." Ma replied that he was not engaged, to which the young lady answered that in a few days a go-between would visit him to arrange the affair. "And what will she be like?" asked Ma. "Why, as your aspirations are for surpassing beauty, of course you will be possessed of surpassing beauty," said the young lady. "I hardly expect that. At any rate, 3 ounces of silver will not be enough to get a wife," retorted Ma. "Marriages are made in the moon. Mortals have nothing to do with them," explained the young lady, slightly exasperated. "And why must you be going away like this?" inquired Ma. "Because, for us to meet only by night is not the proper thing. I had better get you another wife and have done with you." Then, when morning came, she departed, giving Ma a pinch of yellow powder, saying, "In case you are ill after we are separated, this will cure you." Next day, sure enough, a go-between did come, and Ma at once asked what the proposed bride was like, to which the former replied that she was very passable-looking. 4 or 5 ounces of silver was fixed as the marriage present, Ma making no difficulty on that score, but declaring he must have a peep at the young lady. The go-between said she was a respectable girl and would never allow herself to be seen. However, it was arranged that they should go to the house together and await a good opportunity. So off they went, Ma remaining outside while the go-between went in, returning in a little while to tell him that it was all right. She leaned in. "A relative of mine lives in the same court, and just now I saw the young lady sitting in the hall. We have only got to pretend we are going to see my relative, and you will be able to get a glimpse of her." Ma consented, and they accordingly passed through the hall, where he saw the young lady sitting down with her head bent forward, while someone was scratching her back. She seemed to be all that the go-between had said, but when they came to discuss the money, it appeared that the young lady wanted only 1 or 2 ounces of silver, just enough to buy herself a few clothes, which Ma thought was a very small amount. So he gave the kind go-between a present for her trouble, which just finished up the 3 ounces his fox friend had provided. An auspicious day was chosen, and the young lady came over to his house, when, lo, she was humpbacked and pigeon-breasted, with a short neck, like a tortoise, and feet which were fully 10 inches long. The meaning of his fox friend's remarks then flashed upon him. The end. Although it's not the first story in this particular book, I chose the marriage lottery to be our first story from this book that we read aloud because of just how much shade is thrown. Honestly, I considered putting in a trigger warning for just how brutal the fox lady and Ma are to each other. And a couple things to clear up or that I learned like throughout this. I didn't know what pigeon-breasted was. So if this is your rib cage and it's like a little bit indented here from where your spine is down on my thumbs, but it's round otherwise. If you are pigeon-chested, your ribs on your breastbone point out that way, so you have more of a heart thing going on if someone were to look down on you. It apparently can be caused by rickets. So, not the ideal look. I Googled it, and it does look pretty strange. Like someone probably shouldn't still be alive if their chest is that triangular, but humans are resilient. It is something to make sure to consider in this context. The bride showing up and having gigantic feet is a huge letdown. Like possibly her face matters less because that can be put on with makeup, painted up nicely like a fancy lady. But the feet, because not only if you have big feet is that not beautiful because small is better, obviously, but it also means that you've had to work, so you're poor because you can't go around binding the feet of the peasants and the slaves, or who's ever going to get any work done? So I just thought that was pretty funny that you can see different cultural standards of beauty throughout time and how they can be affected. And while I knew about foot binding and all that, I've never encountered like a story or a situation where it's being used to throw shade at someone as hard as it was in this book. Just, yeah, I'm not that pretty, but you're really poor and your village sucks. So here, I'm like an 8. It's like if you're a California 3, but in Ohio 10. You're like, well, have a 10. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think that there is one clear moral in this one, at least not one that's obvious to me. If there is one that stood out for you, please definitely let me know in the comments. I'm really curious. My main takeaway was just like, don't be a jerk, basically. Just keep things on the up and up and don't be a jerk. The question for this week, I'm really curious about this yellow powder that the fox lady left with Ma the last time she departed, because it's given to him in case he feels ill after she departs, but then never brought up again. And since she is meeting him in the night and leaving in the morning, I'm thinking that maybe this is like, it sounds like sex work, except she's paying him. So I'm really not sure what fox lady is getting out of it because it doesn't sound that pleasant. But to each their own, I guess. Some people like jerks. But obviously one of the significant dangers of sex work or being a client of sex workers is that you may encounter sexually transmitted diseases because it is not regulated and people are not kept safe by our laws. Just saying, don't get me started on the necessity of legalizing prostitution. But I'm wondering if that yellow powder is like, hey man, so I know you're going to get married. If any bumps show up in the next few days, just sprinkle this yellow powder on there, clear it right up. She'll never know. So that's what I think it is. What do you think it is? Let me know. And I guess I'll see you next week. And let me know if you think my fort is super kick-ass or just regular kick-ass.